Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Ralph Peterson program. We are just about a minute and a half away from radio greatness. That's right. I said it. I'm calling my shot here today. Radio greatness. India. Are we all good, India? Can you please let me know if you want me to put up anything? Otherwise, we are going to be going live here. Less than 60 seconds. It's cold in my office. It's cold outside. India, please. Oh, good. Thank you. No banner. All right. No banner, no banner. India says no banner. Means we're not going to have a banner. She makes the rules. I just follow them. Setting the timer. Here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ralph Peterson program. I am your host, Ralph Peterson, of course, and I am very excited to be with you today and talk all about business strategy and direction. Business strategy and direction, that is the focus of today's program. But before we get started, before we get too far into it, I know I said it last week. I might have said it even the week before, and I'm going to continue to say it. Listen, I am going to continue to start this program every week with the same mantra. If you don't like the job you have, you can get a better one. If you don't like the person you're attached to, you can unattach yourself from that person. If you don't have the right education to fulfill the right dream that you've always had, you can go back to school. You can take the course. Listen, YouTube is free. And there are a million things that you can learn on YouTube. So many great instructors, so many opportunities and ways to learn the skills necessary so that you can get that role you want, that job you want, that life you want. This year is that year for you. It is. If you've ever dreamed of having more, this is the year you can get more. If you've ever dreamed about being more, this is the year where you can be more. You can get more education. You can get a new job. You can move. This year, everybody's being mobile this year. Everybody's able to move anywhere and anywhere they want to go. It is the greatest year ever. I'm going to keep touting it and touting it and touting it, because if this is the year that you've always dreamed about being in business, if this is the year you've always wanted to you've always known that you can do it, this is the year you can do it. I guarantee you can do it. As a matter of fact, there's a new poll out. New poll that says millions of people believe that they have a great idea for a new business. Millions of people. That's the same thing everybody says. I've got the perfect idea for a book. I've got the perfect story. Oh my God, I could write the best book. Oh, the book I could write. But the problem is most people don't write books. They just talk about how much they could write a book. Oh, if I wanted to, I could write the #1 bestseller. Okay. Well, millions of people believe they have great ideas for businesses, but there are two overwhelming factors that prevent people from actually trying out their great idea. Do you know what they are? The two biggest factors. By the way, these two big factors are attached to an age group, because there is an age where these no longer matter, and that age is when you get into your 40s. So prior to being in your 40s, the two main stops for people who think they have $1 million ideas of opening their own business, that's something they know in their heart would work, is money. Money is one, but it's not the biggest one. The biggest one is confidence. Confidence. Most people are reporting that they do not have the confidence. 1 in 10 people say their idea they know they could turn into a business also say they don't have the confidence. They lack the confidence to give it a try. 1 out of 10 say they have $1 million idea. 5 out of 10 say they lack the confidence. 3 out of 10 say they lack the resources and the confidence. I know money is a factor for a lot of people, but I got to tell you what, confidence was the number one reason why I didn't start my business 10 years ago, 15 years ago. It had nothing to do with know-how. 15 years ago, I knew that I wanted to be in a housekeeping business, that I wanted to own my own housekeeping business. I knew that if I started my own company, that if it was all on me, that I would get it done, that I would make the calls, that I would make the sales, that I would create the product, that I would do the servicing. If it was all on me, listen, I just read a study that said most entrepreneurs feel real terrible depression at least once a week. And I heard that and I was like, only once a week? Because I think I go through it a little more often than once a week, because it can be quite an emotional roller coaster out here, trying to make sales, you're trying to pay your mortgage, you're trying to make your car payment, you're trying to make a life. It can be challenging. I got to tell you, full disclosure, there are nights when I'm up at 2-3 o'clock in the morning and I'm just ruminating. I'm just planning. I'm just trying to figure out the best course of action. I'm just working on that next sale. I'm trying to work on that next project. I'm trying to figure out how better to position myself. And it does keep me up at night, but not in a bad way. Yes, it's stressful. Yes, it is a little lonely out here. I just read this other study on how lonely it is for entrepreneurs, because it's hard to, let me say this. I know we're all friends and family here. It's hard to be honest with people about how you're feeling when you're in business for yourself, because nobody wants to see you get hurt. Nobody wants to see you get into a bad position. Nobody wants to see you struggle and suffer. And so if you even let out a smallest little peep that you're having difficulty, people immediately go to, oh, you know what? There's another, you should just give this up. I mean, that job that you had before, they're still hiring. Or, I heard of this wonderful opportunity the other day, this other place that's hiring, you'd be perfect for it. And the whole time you want to scream from the inside because you took so long to finally get the courage to break away from working for somebody else, break away from making somebody else their fortune and giving somebody else the life they've always wanted to live. And instead you wanted to do it. And so I'm speaking from experience here. We silence it. We don't share the pitfalls. We don't share the ups and downs. And instead, you're up at 3 o'clock in the morning and just kind of taking it one step at a time. And it can be a little scary. But I'm telling you, I wouldn't trade it for nothing. I wouldn't trade it for nothing. I love it. I really, really love it. I love being in business for myself. This is my year. And it's your year. If you have the courage, I remember I was at a play in New York City, and it's one of these plays where it's very interactive, and you're actually, and by interactive, I mean, they have plays in New York City, just so you know, if you've never been to New York City and experienced such a wonderful thing, it's closed now, but it will be open soon enough, I'm sure. But they have plays where the audience gets to be on stage. The stage is an entire building, and you get to walk through the entire building as a play. Multiple scenes are going on, and you can interact in this. It's super wonderful. And in one of these rooms, there was like this operating room, and above the operating table, this old-fashioned, like archaic torture device-looking thing. Up on the wall on the ceiling, it said, "You can have everything you want in life if you just stop being such a wussy." Now, they didn't use the language I'm using. I'm cleaning it up for radio. But it said, you can have everything you want in life if you just stop being a baby. And I remember sitting there, and I'm at a play. And I'm like, holy heck. Boy, do I got to toughen up. Stop being a baby. Stop it. If you have the know-how, you have the idea, millions of people have the business idea, millions of people, we're relying on you. I'm telling you what, I need those solo entrepreneurs out there, just like everybody else does. That's what makes us super great. Not in some siloed way, but in a collective way. all of us out here trying to figure out how to do better things, how to make things work and happen. I have so many stories to tell you about these young entrepreneurs, about people coming into business, about people finding niches that they're working in. So super great. But all right, I'm way long. Let me roll it back here. Super excited to be talking today. I feel like I haven't talked all week. Let me go back to the beginning and say welcome to the Ralph Peterson radio program. Let me thank the IBGR network for allowing me the privilege of being on this program with you. I feel so honored. I have such a good time here. I look forward to it every day. I'm always trying to figure out how to make the best content here. And then I get here and I ramble like an idiot. So what am I going to do? That's my life. IBGR, if you want to interact with the program, this program or any other, go to ibgr.network. It is a wonderful forum. It is the best place for entrepreneurs and business owners and people who are trying to get after it on a daily basis in business. This program is on operations. Today, we're going to be talking about strategy, how to develop a strategy, what an organizational strategic direction is, how do you get one, what it looks like. We'll look at a couple of examples of what other people are doing. It's really fun. If you want to interact with us, you can go to ibgr.network. There is a little flashing question mark on the bottom right-hand corner. You can click on that and you can interact. You can leave comments or ask questions. I get them live as I'm sitting here. Also, we are also live on social media. We're live on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube. And you can interact with us either at ralphpeterson.com or on the IBGR network. You can find us at both places. And again, ask questions, make comments if you have anything you want to add to it. And by the way, for those of you who are watching on social media, hi, how you doing? I always take a couple of minute break between each segment. And sometimes I have a little story, a story or two that I can't tell on the air, but I find fascinating and fun. And so I tell them during the break. So if you want to hear those fun little stories, jump on social media and I will be sharing some of my little tidbits in the news that I have found throughout the week while doing research. And again, there are some stories that are fun. They're creative. They're great business stories, but they're not really the best thing for public radio. And so I'll put them on the social media instead. Nothing cursing, nothing like that. I'm not gross or disgusting in any way, just fun things that I find funny. Anyway, we're going to be right back on the other side of 2.5 minutes, and we'll get right into how to make a strategic direction or how to point, find. I don't know. We'll see. Oh. Yes, my outtakes are a wonderful thing. Okay, all right. Big webinar today, if anybody's interested. Hey, India, is there a place where if somebody wanted to go to the webinar today and they hadn't heard about it yet, is there a way for them to sign up or somewhere I can send them to? If you just send me a text message, should they just go to like thestandard.com to sign up for the webinar? Where would they go if I wanted to send somebody somewhere? I'm talking to India, my assistant. She's in the interwebs. You can't see her, but she's there. She's listening. She's taking notes. Oh, that's nice of you, Bill. I don't know. India, do you want to post something on social about the webinar today? We can. Maybe we can share it on IBGR. Ah, okay. So she sent me a link. Oh. Let me do this for you, Bill. I just shared it with you, Bill. So I just showed you what, where to send listeners if somebody wanted to join us for the webinar. That's all I mean, India. $17.30. $17.30. Thanks. All right, here we go. Everybody ready? Everybody paying attention?
I didn't find everybody ready on.
All right, I wasn't talking to you. There's too much technology going on in my hair. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Ralph Peterson program. This is your weekly dose of everything operations. Actually, I'm not the only show on the IBGR network that talks about operations. There are a few of us, but Tuesday is the day. Is the day if you want to start talking about looking at how your operation is to grow from the inside out. This is the show. This and others like it. This is where we're supposed to be figuring all that stuff out. Again, if you would like to be part of the show, if you'd like to be part of our network, please go to ibgr.network and you're going to find everything you need to know right there. You can go to the community of commerce. One of the best things that we have going for us right this moment, other than fantastic on-air talent, of course you knew that, how dare you, is we do now have a radio app. You can literally download the app, the IBGR app, go to the App Store, iOS, Android. We have the app for both. Go in there, download the app, and you can listen on the go while you're listening to me ramble on about things, all about operations and things that I find interesting anyway. And that's how you should be listening to radio. That's how you should be listening to podcasts. By the way, this is also a podcast. You can, if you miss any episode, if you want to go back and re-listen to any episode or share the episodes with your friends and family, you can just go to the podcast section, or you can go to ralphpetersonpodcast.com. And you can listen to not only the rebroadcast of this radio show, but I do a lot of podcasts. I'm a guest. I feel like I'm a professional podcast guest at this point. I do a lot of podcasts for other people, and we put them all at one place called ralphpetersonpodcast.com. So if you want to go and listen, if you don't get enough of me, listen, I don't blame you. I get it. So you can get more there. And I know I'm a joy. This is big news. Big news coming out of Colorado. I don't know if you remember this, but last year there was three young boys in Denver who were forced to shut down. I don't know if they were actually arrested, but I think they were issued citations by the Denver police because they opened up a lemonade stand across the street from their house. Does anybody remember this ridiculous story in the news? I love the quote. Listen, I'm not getting political, but just the irony of things sometimes, I just have to draw attention to it just because it makes me laugh. Is the quote from the Denver police at the time when somebody said, you literally went and shot down a 7 and 8 year old kid's lemonade stand, and the Denver police said, we don't go out of our way to enforce matters of this nature in this instance. Our actions were complaint driven. When officers receive a complaint, we have an obligation to act for the public good. Where were you when the streets were burning and people were looting? Oh, well, no, listen, the police need to stand down. They don't need to be, but kids holding a lemonade stand, come on. Well, police officers in Denver, you're going to be very happy to learn that the governor, Democratic Governor Jared Polis, has signed into law the Occasional Business Act, which means Little kids can now have a lemonade stand without having a permit, and there's no city ordinance allowed to infringe on the rights of their mini citizens. I'm terminating mini citizens. Now kids can have a lemonade stand in Denver, in any place in Colorado, and they won't be taken down by the police because they don't have a permit. I mean, it was a ridiculous story then, and it's a ridiculous story now. But alas, the good guys win. I think the good guys win. As I read the story, though, because I didn't read the whole story, I just heard it probably like you did with little bits and pieces about these kids getting citationed for in their lemonade stand shut down. But what's so interesting about this is they were shut down because they set up their lemonade stand near an arts festival. An arts festival, the artist type that are all inclusive, kumbaya, one for all for one. They called the police after they said children were taken away their customers, some of their customers from their vendors. Children in the lemonade stand were taking away their customers. Listen, if you can't compete with a lemonade stand and you're a food vendor, we have to sit down and really talk about your business strategy. We have to start talking about your direction and where you're going with this business of yours. Quite frankly, I love to talk about food trucks because I can't imagine, and I don't know, I'm going to go ahead and plead ignorance right now. I don't know the finances behind a food truck. And I know that there is a lot of money to be made in food. I just don't know. My grandparents owned a canteen truck, or like a gut truck, when I was a kid. And it wasn't enough to supplement. It wasn't enough that they could just have a canteen business and that was it. My grandparents needed to do a lot more than just have a canteen business. A canteen business was part of their overall financial package, but it couldn't sustain them. And so every time I see people with a vending, a gut truck or one of these vending trucks, food trucks, I always just wonder what the finances has got to be on that, because I don't know. In Oregon, when my kid lived in Oregon, we went out there and there was like this whole park full of food trucks. And so then you're like, okay, so they're stationary, they're permanent, it's very popular. I mean, the places were packed, you could get all kinds of food and all. Okay. So, all right. So I was digging it. I'm like, okay, so maybe there is some money in there. But then you see somebody with a hot dog stand and I'm just thinking to myself, how much money could you possibly be making? And how do you grow that business? And, I understand having a hot dog stand, but how do you grow it to 2 hot dog stands, or 3 or 4 or 5? And the reason why I'm even thinking this way is because the other day I might have been doing a little bit of spying, a little bit of eavesdropping. I'll admit it. They're in college now. They're not listening to me, but we have some college age kids here. And my office is right next to the kitchen, right next to the dining room. And so if you're in the dining room and you're being a little loud, and I'm not being loud in my office here, I can hear every word you say. Oh, yes, that's right. Cat's out of the bag. But the other day, one of our kids and their friend was over, and they were talking about this is going to be when they come back from college. They're both freshmen. They come back from college. Their summer activity is they've got to start their own business, because that's part of what the school program they're in. So they're wondering what kind of business they need. What should they do? What could they do? And I got to tell you, my ear hurt by trying to strain it so hard to try to pay it, just try to hear everything that they were saying. And then, of course, because it's me, and if you've met me, you know that I don't have the ability to stay out of other people's business, especially when they're talking about something as fun as business and the idea of starting a business. And so I, of course, went out in the kitchen and made like I had to do something, and I really didn't have anything to do. I just wanted to be part of their conversation. And so I craftily, inserted myself into the conversation. And it's fun to listen to a couple of 18-year-olds discuss what possible business they could be in. And I've got to tell you, neither one of them brought up the idea of any kind of labor. Neither one of them came up with an idea of, what we should service or build. Nope. That's not the kind of business they want to be in. No, they're like, we should come up with an algorithm for a computer program that predicts the future for stocks, and then we can just sit back and make passive income. And I wanted to run my head into the microwave. I was like, passive income? Let's first start on making active income before we start coming up with passive income. I'm like, how about we come up with a product? How about we come up with a service? Like, it would be. I remember in high school, I took shop and I didn't finish the entire 4 years. But if I had, I know people who had, they were building houses. So you started shop 1 in freshman year, and by your senior year, you helped build a house that then went for sale, and then everybody went then people bought the house, and then the proceeds of the house went back into the shop program. And I was just thinking about that. Wouldn't that be a fun? Like, what kind of business could you create for college students who are coming home? It'd have to be a program or a business that could expire with them, because obviously, once school starts up in the fall, they're not going to want to continue on with their business because they just did it for a summer project. And I immediately, of course, thought of housekeeping. I was like, that's the best thing that you should do is just go right out and just come up with a way to clean houses, come up with a marketing strategy, come up with a vehicle to drive around in, come up with a cleaning process, and you could easily start learning what it takes to get a customer, to make sales calls, to get paid, to bank money, to manage money, to do good work, to hire people, to make sure that the product that you're promising is the product that they're getting, and dealing with people who are promising one thing and then doing something else. I mean, real world business experience would be really great. But then at the other side of this, because as you can imagine, as soon as I brought up the idea that maybe they should work in housekeeping, they almost threw me out of my own house. They were very appalled with the idea. But, you could do the same thing with a hot dog stand. You could do the same thing with an ice cream stand. You could do the same thing with a food truck of some kind. What's your strategy? Let's just build a strategy to figure out how to make a couple of dollars and figure out how to get the best experience for business at the very molecular level, down here on the ground level, where I'm telling you, this is where the business operations is the best. It's the funnest. It's the most challenging. And dare I say, it's where it's the most fulfilling. It's where I get all my excitement. It's where I enjoy working. And it's where most of the people I know enjoy working. Anyway, let's get more onto the other side of this. Tight break coming up here. So 2.5 more minutes. We'll talk more. Okay, quick story for my social media peeps out there. My wife actually brought me this story because it was kind of funny. There was a bachelorette party recently that went awry. It got a little bigger than it was supposed to get, especially here during the coronavirus and the pandemic. And you're not supposed to be having all these gatherings, and you have to be socially distanced and blah, blah, blah. And so somebody called the police, and it was a noise complaint. And so the police show up, they knock on the door. They go, police, and they walk in, and the girls, who by this time had a few drinks, they already had a couple of glasses of wine, they started cheering because they thought the police were strippers. I think that's so funny. And what's funny about it is my wife told me a story, and I'm like, oh my God, I got to look that up because I got to find out what that's all about. It turns out this isn't even the first time that's happened. There are stories after stories after stories. There's even stories where the women, before they even find out that the police officers are actual police officers, they're almost got half their shirts off them. Could you imagine being a police officer, being mauled by a gaggle of women? Like, hey, this is a real gun. This is a real gun. Ah. Oh, if that doesn't make you want to be a police officer, then nothing should, right? I mean, if that's so sure, some people shoot at you, but sometimes you have to go break up a party full of women, and they think that you're a part of the entertainment. I don't know why that's funny to me, but it is. It is. All right, 32:30 is when we're going to come back. We'll talk about a little kid with bow ties, some bees. Got some little entrepreneur love from some kids. Thank you for sharing all of that in the chats and everything. That's very nice of you guys. Thank you for doing that. Oh, here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Ralph Peterson program. I am still your host, the lovable Ralph Peterson. And excuse me, I don't know what it is, but I stay silent most of the day because I work by myself. And then as soon as I start talking, I feel like I haven't talked in 8 years. It's only been a couple of hours. Let me drink some more coffee here. Welcome back to the Ralph Peterson radio program. As promised, I want to talk an awful lot about, we only have 2 segments left. I want to talk an awful lot about your strategic direction, and more than just your strategic direction, but how do you even choose a strategy? Like, what is a strategy? What does it mean to have a strategy? How do you develop a strategy? And more importantly, how do you change? How do you change a strategy once you already have one in motion? And what are you looking for? What are the indicators that you should be changing your strategy? And I think just because it'll be an easy transition, I think it'd be fun to talk about food trucks. My friend has a food truck, and he only uses it part-time of the year because in the place that we live, winter is winter. Nobody's outside. Nobody's in the parks. And it's different than a gut truck. And a gut truck is, I don't know if a gut truck is the right terminology, a canteen truck, a truck that goes around to area businesses. And they do that 365 days a year, or maybe it's 5 days a week, depending on what business that they're going to. And they have like this route that they go and they stop at all these businesses. But my friend doesn't have one of those. My friend has a truck that he only uses in the summer. And there are times when he'll park it on the side of the street. Have you ever seen a hot dog stand or a guy in a hot dog truck parked in this random place? Nothing else is around. There's maybe it's just like a pull off on the side of the road. That's kind of like what my friend does. And he also hangs out at a couple of parks. And so there'll be parks that he goes to during the week and then a specific park that he goes to on weekends. And where he parks his vehicle and what time of day he shows up and what time of day he leaves and how much he charges for his hot dogs and what kind of hot dogs and toppings he brings and what kind of other sides, because he has potato chips and he has candy bars and stuff like that and soda and Gatorade and water. That's all based on a business strategy that he developed, and he continues to modify, but he developed it trial and error. He first thought, okay, there's a truck for sale and it has some cooking equipment in it already. It was already set up for food. I would love to do gourmet hot dogs. And so let me see how much the truck is going to cost and see if I can come up with a gourmet hot dog that I can make very fast and easily in this truck. So he goes and he determines it's all possible, and poof, he's got gourmet hot dogs. Well, having gourmet hot dogs and nobody there to buy them is a terrible idea. And so he buys the truck, he gets the gourmet hot dogs, he starts thinking, well, where the heck am I going to go? So he's like, oh, I know where there's a park. And he drives down to the park and there's nobody there. It's barely anybody there. So he's like, well, this is not a good park to be in. And so he pulls out a map and he starts, oh, you know what? There's another park. There's a waterway where a lot of people must be hanging out over by the water. And he drives over there. And sure enough, there's a lot more people over there. But there's also a little canteen business, not a canteen truck, but an actual little store there that's already servicing people. And so although he is now with somebody, now although he is getting customers, it's not like he's the only one in town, which is really what he wants to be, is the only one in town. And so understand that this is truly how you start developing a strategy. You first have to start looking at what it is you're doing or want to be doing. And then you got to find out where the market is. You got to find out, especially when it comes to food, where the customers are. That's why you see, every time you see a McDonald's sign, if you see driving down the interstate and you see a big McDonald's sign high up into the air, McDonald's are the ones who have the high ones in the air. You know why, right? Because they're the only ones that can afford one that high. So you pull way high up in the air and you go like, oh, there's a McDonald's. You can guarantee, almost to a certainty, that when you come off that exit, there's going to be a lot more restaurants than just the McDonald's. Here's the question. Why? Why does Burger King park itself across the street to McDonald's? Why does KFC? Why does Subway? Why does Jack in the Box? Why does White Castle? Why do all of these Arby's? Why do all these fast food or fast casual restaurants group up together? Well, the reason is because it is a strategy. Because what they have found through strategic thinking, through strategic planning, through strategic analysis, is that when people go looking for food, they might have a specific, I want to go to such and such a place. And then when they get there, like, oh my God, let's go to McDonald's. I've been dying to go to McDonald's. I really want to go to McDonald's. And then you get to the McDonald's road and you see a White Castle. And you're like, wait, I didn't know there was a White Castle here. Now that my options have expanded, now I've got more decisions to make. And now you can't hate on people. And I know we do, but there's this whole I love this whole adage, when somebody cuts you off or is swerving in and out of traffic, driving like an idiot, they could be, truthfully, just an impatient idiot. And there could also be something really going on in their world, really going on in their car. They really could be in a hurry for an emergency or something. And so it's hard to gauge what's going on in somebody else's car. And so it's always best to try to be as forgiving as possible. I got to tell you, that is no more relevant or prevalent when I see is when you're at one of those stop signs, when you have like those four-way roads where you can take a left and go to Burger King, you can take a right and go to McDonald's, you can go straight and left and there's a White Castle, or straight and right and there's a Panera Bread. You have all these options, and you have people, you can see them, they're in the left lane and they've made a decision. They no longer want to go to Burger King. Now they want to get in the right lane and they're trying to move over. You got to kind of laugh. You got to kind of go, okay, all right, listen, it's because the more food options you have, the more uncertain you are about what you want. And then you get there and you change your mind. And businesses know that. Businesses know that. That's why malls are so great. Malls are so great, not because one store holds this, one store holds that. No, it's because you're going to a store to spend some money. You're going to go buy a gift. You could buy somebody a baseball hat, or you could go buy somebody a jacket, or you could buy them a gift basket, or you can buy them a thing of a new dish set, or you can go buy them a new pair of shoes, or you can go buy them some organic or high-end candy, chocolate, white chocolate, my favorite. My point is that businesses know the closer they are to other businesses, the better their business does, because the consumer changes their mind the closer they get. I wanted to go to Dick's department store, and then I get there and I'm parked closer to Macy's. I got to walk through Macy's to get to Dick's, but I'm looking for this shirt that I want. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to look in Macy's while I'm walking through it. Let's just check here while we're already here. And then poof, Macy's gets my business. Dick's Sporting Goods doesn't get my business, all because Dick's and Macy's knew the one thing that everybody does in business when it comes to strategy, and that is consumers, when they're willing to shop and they're on their way to you, they're likely to stop and shop somewhere else as well. And that's why these food places are all on top of each other. And so that's why food trucks are fun when you think about strategy and you think about what I was telling you about in Oregon. In Portland, Oregon, there was, I don't know if there still is, there's so much that's gone on in Portland. I can't even imagine anything is the same as it used to be. But there used to be like a quarter mile, maybe even a half mile, like this huge area that was just lined in a big square of all these food trucks, every kind of food you can imagine. And every one of them was doing very well. Every one of them had a line. Every one of them had smokestacks spewing smoke of delicious food. Every one of them, you could get things from gourmet donuts to Thai food to chicken kebab to beef on the whack. You could get burgers and French fries. You could get Chinese food. You could get barbecue, hot dogs. You could get any kind of food you wanted from any of those food trucks. And that's what's so great about understanding both your market and understanding the strategy behind where you're going to bring your food truck. You don't want to show up at a food place having the same food. You want to have a different twist, a different take, a different menu item than everybody else does. But you want to be close to everybody else who's serving food because that's how you increase your own business. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about making a strategic direction. When you're trying to figure out not only what your market is, but where your market is. Where do people want to buy from you? Where are the people that you want to sell to? Where are they? Where's the best place to find them? And then once you find out where they are, then it doesn't stop there. You can't just roll up and go, I'm going to sell hot dogs. Now you got to talk about packaging. You got to talk about branding. You got to talk about pricing. Pricing is huge, 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 huge. And when it comes to pricing, the only thing I would say about pricing is always meet the market. Don't beat the market. Meet the market. Don't beat the market when it comes to pricing. And what I mean by that is it is always better to sell a comparable item for a comparable price as your competitor than it is to undercut your competitor by a whole, like huge margins, because by undercutting your competitor by a huge margin, all you're doing is leaving money on the table, and you're going to eventually have to make that up. And to steal a customer, not even steal a customer, that's not the right word, but to gain a customer over a cheaper product is not. I know that there are people who make that as their whole product line, their whole strategy pitch is to be undercutting everybody. I'm telling you, it's not the best way. People don't like the cheapest. A lot of people don't like the most expensive. So find your middle road. That's what I would do. The middle road. All right, more on the other side of the break. 2.5 more minutes. This clock and I, damn it goes too fast for me, senorita. Yes, thank you, India. I got that. I see what you're doing. One more segment. One more big story. All right. Under 30. Under 30. Last segment of the day, kids. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Ralph Peterson radio program. Let me thank you again for joining us today. We're not leaving. We've still got a few minutes here. 12 minutes to be exact. If you're on one of those clock watchers trying to figure out how much time we have left on the air, it's just under 12 minutes at this point. And there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about, other than I still want to go a little deeper down into strategy, organizational strategy, how to develop one, what to be looking for, what to be thinking about. There's a couple of things I want to talk about. One is there's a great article out there that I found called Learn from Kid Entrepreneurs, Lessons from Kid Entrepreneurs Who Make More Money Than You Do. So first of all, I don't like your titling, okay? There's no purpose, no point in saying, oh, they make more than you do, and he's only 9 years old. All right, fine. Oh yeah, there is a kid in here who makes more than I do, and he's only 9 years old. Sure enough, makes bow ties. He started out with just his mom and his grandmother. I say that's a pretty persuasive kid if he's got his mom and his grandmother making bow ties for him. At 9, it's pretty great. But what I wanted to talk about is there was a Me and the Bees Lemonade was founded by she was stung by a bee at 4. All right, she didn't launch a business at 4. I think sometimes these people are parents are hiding behind kids. Going, no, my kid created this business when he was 9. All right. Okay. All right. Whatever. No, but this one I really do like. This one is talking about how to find a niche. I am very nichey. Is that a thing? Nichey? Sure. In that I own a housekeeping management training company. I train housekeeping managers. That's niche. I can even get even nichier. I train housekeeping managers who work in nursing homes. How's that for niche? Like drill down, further down. And so then the question becomes, well, okay, let's say that you wanted to train housekeeping managers in nursing homes. Is there a market for it? I'd say, well, let me do some research. I find out that there's just under 17,000 nursing homes. Okay. So if we say that the average nursing home is about 80 to 100 beds, they measure nursing homes in bed sizes. So that means they have a housekeeping manager, they have a housekeeping staff. So that is potentially, under 17,000 housekeeping managers that could possibly need some training and assistance. And let's say that half of them know everything or they already work with a team. That's fine. Okay. So now we're talking about 8,000 potential people out there who could use some sort of training from a housekeeping management point of view. Okay, so let's say that it's not even that big. Let's say it's even half of that. Maybe it's only 4,000 people, and maybe I can only get 10% of that 4,000. So really only talking about 400 people. Listen, 400 people, training 400 people, getting 400 people to attend the Standard Health and Rehab, which is my online training program for housekeeping managers. That's a huge market. That's a huge market. And so do you see how I drilled down? I just kept drilling down. I started with the biggest number. All right. So there's nearly 17,000. Let's for easy math, we'll call it 16,000. Fine. There's 16,000 nursing homes, which means there's probably at least 16,000 housekeeping managers who work in nursing homes. And let's say half of them don't have any desire for any assistance at all. They all know everything. They don't need any help. Great. Good for them. That brings us to 8,000. Let's say that out of those 8,000, maybe there's another 4,000 that whether they could use the help or not, half of them probably wouldn't be able to reach out, or maybe it's my fault, actually. You know why they can't reach out? It's my fault, because here's the number one rule. Here, I wrote down the rules of building a strategy. Here we go. The first rule is to position yourself, which I clearly have done. I've positioned myself into housekeeping management. The next rule number 2, is where I'm failing the most. I can't even get rule number 2 right. And that is get known, be known. So that's, I say there's maybe 8,000 potential housekeeping managers out there who could use some type of management training and development, they don't know me. They've not heard of Ralph Peterson. I know, I can't believe it either, but that's all on me and India. I hold her accountable too. It's India's fault as well. But we're working on trying to get known. That's our job, is to make sure everybody who is a potential client of ours knows about us. And getting known is super huge. But that's why I say of the 8,000, really it's probably only 4,000. And of the 4,000, I'd be lucky to get 4,000 to get 20%, 10%. I would have to get 10% of that market of the 4,000. That means I probably have to have 20, 25% people know me, which means I need to have at least 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 people know what I do, how I do it, the results I'm getting. And then maybe if I do a good job at getting 1,500 to 2,000 people, nursing home administrators who have housekeeping managers under them, get them to know what I do and the value I bring to the table with training their housekeeping managers, maybe I'll get a conversion rate of 10%. Maybe. Maybe. It's probably even less than that. It's probably 3, 4, 5%. Probably not as high as 10%. But that is why the third rule when you're building a strategy is so super important after get known, and that is hustle. Getting known is not enough because people know you once. They've got to continue to hear about you. How many times does it take before you hear a song, before you like the song? I rarely have ever heard a song the first time and fell in love with it. Rarely. Usually I have to hear it over and over. And I'm like, oh my God, that song's on again. And it becomes there. You know that there's a fine line, right? Where you can't wait. The song comes on again. You turn it up on the radio. You're like, oh my God, I just love this song. And then what goes by? A week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It depends on how many times you've heard it. But then it comes on the radio again. And you're like, good Lord, is this all they ever play? Like, there's that fine line. I'm not even close to you singing along with me yet. So I've got a lot more work to do. That's where the hustle comes in. Then the fourth rule when you're talking about building a strategy and developing a strategic direction that you're going in, and that is you have to constantly be paying attention and making small adjustments. And what I mean by paying attention and making small adjustments, I mean you have to be looking at things like sales, customer base. Are the customers going up? Are they going down? Are there new products on the market that are similar to yours? Is there new innovations? Innovation, by the way, innovation does not mean technology. Innovation means strategic, innovation means meaningful change. So has there been meaningful change maybe in the delivery system of a product or in a delivery system, even how you communicate a product? All of these things, your call returns, your clicks or your likes, your shares, prices go up, prices go down. You have to pay attention to all of that if you want to remain competitive and keep your strategic edge. Your strategic edge is all based on paying attention to the indicators that make the most sense for you, which now brings me to the next question, and that is, what are the indicators? Do you know what you need to be paying attention to make the best use of your business and your strategic plan? Do you know if should be looking at how many people share your content, how many people view your content? Does that make a difference? How many people buy this month as opposed to last month? Is that a good indicator? Probably one of the best indicators. But you understand, like, there are data points that you should be measuring. How many sales calls you make? How many sales calls you make as opposed to how many people actually answer the call? How many times you're able to present a proposal for your product or service? All these measurables will indicate whether you're doing something well or not doing something well, or if there's been a change in the market that you have to pay attention to. If somebody goes out of business and they're in a pretty similar business than yours, don't just take it on the chin. Don't just take it for granted that you know what happened. Find out. Did they go out of business because of mismanagement? Did they go out of business because of lack of customer base? Did they go out of business because of lack of customer confidence? Did they do something to ruin that confidence? Or did some other event in some other industry or some other place ruin the customer confidence of that event? You know, one good example of this is the Corona beer. You guys have probably all heard about how Corona beer was Nobody was buying Corona beer when the coronavirus kind of everybody associated the word Corona with bad. And so the beer went tanked right down to nothing. It almost became like a side joke. That is Corona beer not doing anything wrong. They got their niche, they've got their business, they got their limes, they're putting in the top of the bottles, they've got their great commercials, they've got the beach and the girls and the way their whole marketing, and then something completely unrelated comes along and takes away their business. Just like that. That's what I mean by you have to pay attention to the market, inside and outside forces, because you never know where they're going to come, where they're going to grab you, and where they're going to shake things up for you. Sometimes it's for the good, and sometimes it's for the bad. Storm comes along, and you own a generator store, you're probably the happy. Storm comes along, and you need power to have a restaurant open, and there's no power, you're not very happy. Strategy, understanding where you are, where you're going, how you're going to get there is so super important in business. And once again, 30 seconds left to say thank you so much for joining me again today. Next Tuesday, 1 p.m., we'll be live again. Make sure you're telling all your friends, even the ones you don't like that much. Tell them about this radio show. Show support. Show some love. I would appreciate it. And of course, if you need any housekeeping training at all and you work in long-term care, go to thestandardhelpandrehab.com and book an appointment with me. We'll talk about it. We'll see what we can do to help you. Otherwise, see you guys later. That's it, my friends. Thanks, Bill. Thank you, India. Bum-ba-da-dum. Bum-ba-da-dum. Bum-ba-dum. Okay. Bye, everyone. Oh, camera there.